we put out, or just put out the statistics about household incomes. Now, we're going to go over a few things. First, I want everybody to take your emotions out of it, because I don't care about it, right? And not disrespectfully, but I just mean that ain't got nothing to do with this conversation, right? So, when we talking about household incomes, Asians rank at the top by far, right? So we're going to get into this, because I've studied every single, not every entire ethnic group, but I've studied a lot of ethnic groups, the larger ones that make up America. Then I've seen some people like, what about Caribbeans? We're not separating Caribbeans because Caribbeans in this country are not a large enough populace that makes a splash. You feel me? The rights and benefits that Caribbeans and Africans in this country directly benefit from are because of, Native Americans. And by Native Americans, I mean us brown, copper-colored, melanated people. You feel me? And our struggles and everything that we fought for. So anybody outside and, Native American that is indigenous to this country, or, African descended slaves, right? Everybody else owes Black America, right? Credence for everything that we've done. So you can try to disassociate yourself, but it's not possible, because your very existence in this country is based on the merits of our accomplishments and our fights and our struggles. And that's just a fact, all right? So, you can separate yourself all you want to, but there is no existence in separation when you're talking about, America. You know what I'm saying? Because this is our country. So a person asks, why is there no flag next to African Americans? First of all, African American is a made up term, right? Number two, it says American, so therefore you're going to have an American flag, right? So I'm not sure what point that you were making, right? Some of us are indigenous to this country, right? That's why there's always been a long conversation about, should we call ourselves Black? Because people believe without a correct nationality connected to it, such as, Native Americans or Moorish, right? Or picking a Pacific African country, then you can't get reparations or treated correctly based on constitutional law, right? Now, that's a whole nother story, because I was on a panel yesterday, or the day before yesterday, at Natural Hair, show. And we had a long conversation about race, we had about politics, we had about health, we had about different food disparities, we talked about mental things, spirituality, education, all these things before we talked about money. And I was like, you see how this thing flowed? We had to get through all of that before we can even have a money conversation. So when we talking about money, it's triggering, because first thing that pops up is our excuses, right? Our excuses, right? So when we talk about our excuses, we're going to go back into the history, and we're going to go back into the past and look at all the reasons why, which is very extremely important. You cannot brush over mass incarceration, redlining, systematic racism, right? Oppressive systems that have kept us down and under, predatory loans, and the particle matter in the hood and the food deserts, right? And the disenfranchisement of the Black family, and right, the rise of, drugs and crack era, and you can't breeze upon that. But here's the thing. Once you study it, once you know it, right? Yeah, first of all, Black is a culture, so y'all gotta learn nuance. So let me address this for a second, the whole Black thing. You gotta learn nuance, because I think the reason a lot of you all lose a lot of arguments is because you don't understand the nuances of different things. To say Black is not a culture is incorrect, because Black does have its culture. Now, whether that's positive or negative, right? A lot of people call themselves Black because they relate to what they consider is the connection and the values of that culture. The music, the style of dressing, the language, right? So it doesn't mean that it's not a culture. You just might not like the culture that it is. Right? So, first of all, you can't start an argument with an error that's erroneous to say, right? There are many people who identify with Black because it is a culture that they connect to. It's not a nationality. Now, that's different. Black is not a nationality, right? Black is not even a color. It's really the absence of color. Pink, red, orange, green, blue, all of those things are colors. Black is an origin of color. right? And then in law definition, by, legal statements, one would look at black as correlated with negative and white correlated with purity, and that has nothing to do with race, right? Because when you walk outside and you feeling clean, what you go put on? You put on that white. Most of the time when people want to minimize presence and they don't want to be seen and they're not being expressive, they put on black, right? So black has been connotated with not particularly, I don't think it's connected to negativity when I hear it, right? But the brother Kaba Kamane was explaining, like, when people learn English and they look at the word black, they don't connect it with positivity. So therefore they don't connect you with positivity, and they can create a bias just by the basis of how language was learned, right? From outside groups. So, we are brown people. So to be honest, I wouldn't even look at black as the greatest color. I would look at brown because we're brown, right? Which is interesting because we don't think about that. Here we are saying black is beautiful when it's really brown is beautiful, right? Like, think about that. Like, we be saying black is beautiful, but we're not even black. We're brown, right? Our hair is black, right? Eyes be black, the middle part, but we brown. So if we're being correct about the specifics of self-love, then we'll be walking around saying brown is beautiful, right? But we associate brown with Hispanics, Latinos, Mexicans, but we don't associate it with ourselves, right? So we're all different spectrums of brown, the darkest colors of brown, right? Because black is devoid of color. Now, there are some blue black people on this planet Earth, but it's rare that you run into blue black people. For the most part, I look around right now and I see a sea of brown people, right? So say it with me, brown is beautiful. Brown is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's actually healing to even say it, because when you see that color brown, you see your brother and sister. Brown is beautiful. Copper color, that copper color is beautiful. You feel me? So that's just a simple language practice, right? If you want to focus on it, right? White people are not actually white, right? So even their connection to the color and our negative association, if you have a higher level of association to black, you may connotate white as negative because of racial construct. But white people not white, right? They're like pinkish and like some like pale color. So these are like pinkish pale color people, right? But nothing wrong with the color white. White is a beautiful color, right? Because white is a connotation of purity, right? It's a cleanliness, right? That's the association. So when you want to clean your fields, you imagine you have a white aura around you. So that's another thing that you have to disassociate. You have to disassociate Caucasian people from the color white as well, right? These are pinkish pale people, right? And then we're the brown people. That's if we're actually going to be correct in our usage of language and term, because I like the color white, right? But I've never actually wore pale. I've never wore pale, like pinkish, like white people just that. Yeah, anyway, that's getting me off subject. Oh man, so shout out to all my good, beautiful brown people on here today. All right, so look at the Uber driver laugh. He laughed at that one though, man. Oh my God. Woo. And then what you see when you look at people who are not heavily melanated is you're seeing the blood rush to their face, right? Because they're basically clear, if you want to be honest, right? They're transparent, right? We just have an extra coat. We got that coat. It's an electrical paint that we have, right? That allows you to have solar energy powers, right? So you can absorb the sun like, you're never going to see a solar panel that's white. They have to be black for maximum absorption of the sun, right? So, take that in. We just got that finished paint. You feel me? So, they're transparent. So if you see a person that has that transparent skin without the melanin, they get angry and blood rushes to their face and they become very red, right? Because that's blood that you're seeing. So that's all. These actually very transparent people. So yeah, we got that electric paint and they don't. You feel me? That's it. All right, moving forward. Because we're going to break this down. We got to talk about wealth and money on the tour. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't miss that. We got land experts and stock experts and metaphysical experts and all sort of different people that's going to be on the tour with us, right? So we working on getting the money right. Let me take a breath real quick. Whew. I feel good. My brain is... All right. So, now that we got that out the way, let's talk wealth, right? So we talking wealth standards. Now, I see a lot of people questions. Now, first of all, let's deal with a few different things. You know, education plays a huge factor in highest household incomes, correct? You know, let me know. You all know I'm correct on this, right? A person that is educated has more options. They have greater skill sets, right, and abilities to make money, right? Because money loves value, right? So how are Asians doing this? I'm not going with the model minority theory. I'm just looking at reality theory. All right, somebody was like, no, you're trying to make the Asian look good and we bad. No, relax. That's some like negative insecurity projection based on excuses of why we're not executing today. I'm not looking at that, right? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. If there was any black man that could make excuses and give you a long list of life story and circumstances on why, right, I shouldn't be successful, I can do that, right? You know, you can't match stories, you know, and just as far as like, oh, well, you got this and you got that. Like, nope, I've been through all of it. So that's why if I don't give myself excuses, I don't give you one, right? So let's just start with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, I'm a black masculine Muslim in America, right? Growing up in America, we were always discriminated against by black and white people, by brown and pale people, my bad, right? So, you know, going through the eras of 9/11 and things of that nature, always discriminated. You feel me? Always hated on. I remember we was afraid to even put our name, Muhammad, on the because we didn't know if a person was gonna turn it down just because they seen that. You feel me? But I was always one of them proud ones to be like, no, we banging it. You feel me? So I started putting the whole crown on. You feel me? Like it was war going on. We said, let me represent this universal consciousness. You feel me? And now we wear our crowns proudly because it's a representation of a new day and age. You feel me? So anyway, we got that out the way, right? Even being everything that I represent, the world is against, right? So if I can do that, right, and I can build success, then it is a representation that you can. Come on, Catherine, relax. Come on, I thought you just said you black, now you brown. You know what I mean, man. My lexicon ain't changed that fast. Dang, y'all gotta focus, man. This is why we like education and we like focus skills, right? So we focus on what to call each other, right? Agents ain't tripping about that kind of stuff right now. All right. So, number one thing that I believe that our trauma has done to us, right, and our triggers have done to us is make us seek saviors. We love and hate saviors, right? I've been noticing the more that I grow, I trigger suckers, right? They be like, man, Keith, they just like you cause you can look good or you can talk, or why you wear that crown, man? That crown don't mean nothing. Or you a false messiah, man. No, Keith, why you got all these articles and people talking about you? Like, brother, why would that trigger you? Why should that make you mad? Like, why does that, you as a grown man, have an issue with me, right? A young man in America going through the trials and tribulations of his daily battles with the world and himself, and finding a way to continue to win and create opportunities, right, to teach, educate, and build. Like, why does that hurt you so much? I'm not your savior. I'm not your leader. I'm just a young man out here developing myself and making a way for myself, my family, and others. And those who find benefit in it, that's solid. And if you don't, then we breathe and we move on to the things that we agree with. But because we have so much self-hate, when we see the success of others, it triggers us because we think about the lack of things that we're doing, right? But see, that is the beautiful thing. When we look at the Asian model, how many people can say, what was the last Asian savior? What was the last Asian leader? We can't name it, right? So what becomes their savior is education. It becomes their standards towards wealth. They say, well, I'm going to educate myself because this is how I'm going to save myself. Right? That's a completely different to say, who's going to lead us to the promised land? No, it's the standards that become the saviors. So, completely different conversation, right? And this is a mindset shift that has to happen, because we talk about the self-wars. These are the daily battles and stuff, saying, who's going to come and help me? They said, no, I'm going to get educated and use my mind to help myself. And when they get educated, the family helps them and they help each other. They have systems to where they invest in each other and create money pools and investment pools. So it's systems, right? Like Sienna said, it's community consciousness, right? Of how each one can help each other. So that's the savior. As long as we follow these rules and these systems, we're going to be okay, right? So if we do that model comparison and we say, okay, what are our systems? What is the system that we can say is going to save us? We can't think of one. Hip hop? Really? Pound Town? Took a Pound Town? That's what was going on? That's what's happening? Coi Leray and Lotto beefing? That's what's taking us there? Nah, that ain't it. That ain't do it. That ain't gonna do it. That ain't gonna do it. Oh, gender wars. Oh, black women becoming strong, independent women. That's gonna save us. That ain't gonna do it. You know, maybe gay rights is gonna save black people. Or I think the issue's always been black people don't treat the homosexuals in their community right. Maybe that's going to save us. Nope, that ain't gonna do it. Right? Like where is the things that we have as the forefront of what we consider to be the most important progressive movements of today has nothing to do with the advancement of us. Now, there are certain necessary things that have to be taken into account. The treatment of our women, the reconnection of our family, the restoration of our consciousness. All of these things have to be taken into account 100%. But we are so disassociated from ancestral practices and tenets that we have no standards and or protocols when it comes to advancing as a people and being our own saviors. So let's look at another thing that I think is remarkable that Asians do, right? And I study the Asians, the whites, the Amish, the Jews, all of them, because even though Jews are the smallest minority group, is right, represent 2% of the population, but when it comes to the Forbes list, they represent the top 25%. So we teach about that as well. So let's just look at something. First of all, when it comes to statistics on investing in stocks, 47% of Asians hold taxable investment accounts. So as we trying to teach people about stocks, we're just trying to catch you back up to the normal wealth standards and practices of other cultures. Man, text tour. If you're going on tour, you'll get this information in person, right? If you in New York, you're in Harlem, pull up to the Apollo. If you in Jersey, pull up, right? It ain't just starting with the home. You have to know how to build a home, because there's a lot of houses, not a lot of homes. All right. And then okay, so they have 47%. That's almost half, right? And these statistics I'm sure have went up. So let's say it's about 50%. That's half of Asians have taxable investment accounts. So as you see the S&P 500 rise, that also is a representation of the wealth of the Asian community rising. That's what you got to understand. At least 50% of them. That's amazing, I think. I think that is amazing. All right, so what are some of the other points that I would look at? So education is their leadership and savior. But here's an important thing. We talk about home. They stick with family. They stick with family. See, while we're having gender wars, right? We having gender wars. The black man don't do this. The black woman don't do this. She not submissive. He not aggressive. He's a sucker. She's a hoe. It's like, oh, man. You got to buy on the first date. You got to get my Uber. Boy, I tell you, like, it's the pettiest culture on the planet Earth at the moment. And we celebrate that. It's the pettiest culture. What the fuck is y'all talking about? Nobody care about none of that. It's pettiest culture ever. What is you talking about? You talking about who go buy the goddamn Uber? Like, if y'all gonna be a thing in the future, that shit don't even matter. You feel me? But it's like, these are the things that you associate to your self-worth. Well, if they don't do this, then they don't trust me, and then I'm not the prize. Come on, man. We be so petty, man. It hurt my heart to see that level of pettiness. I'm gonna be honest with you. It hurt my heart to see that level of pettiness. So, let's look at it, right? So they stick with family, and when I say stick with family, let's look at the relationship dynamics inside the family. Like I said, if you want this information live in person, this and a lot more we're gonna go over, because it's gonna be so heavy. Oh, it's gonna be so heavy. Text tour, join the tour, go on tour with me, right? So, what is the relationship between the daughter and the father? Let's start with that. Can anybody tell me what that relationship is supposed to be? How is it defined? What's the protocol? There was a story by Huey P. Newton. It's called Revolutionary Suicide. He talked about some of his practices that his family in the South had. He said one of the practices, when there was a newborn, right, the sibling would take that newborn, right, and or I don't know if he said it was a newborn or when it was an age they could walk or whatever, and they would be the first ones to walk them out the house, right? So they'd walk them out the house and take them on their first walk or whatever, and it was a representation, right, of the responsibility that they're going to have for their sibling, right? And I was just thinking about, like, the rites and the rituals that we had when it came to family. But today we don't have those same rites and rituals. We don't have that those rites of passage when it comes to family at all. Think about it. Like, what are the rites of passages in your family? What is the son supposed to do and the daughter supposed to do? So with the ripping away of structures, roles, you saying you just getting rid of everything that was ever created for the advancement of that family, spiritually, scientifically. So I thought it was important, because I was like reading this book and they were talking about, like, okay, this is the relationship between the father and the daughter. This is how their relationship is supposed to be. This is the relationship between the father and the son. This is his responsibility, how their connection and relationship is supposed to be. This is between the mother and the father, the son and the mother, the daughter and the son and the daughter and the mother. So they all know their roles in those houses. And I'm like, yo, that makes it so much easier. Instead, but what do we see in mainstream American TV? Because people get mad at the agents for controlling Netflix and not wanting to show certain things because it's propaganda. Y'all think it's oppression. The oppression is just allowing your children to watch anything because it confuses them. So you on TV watching the story of how a daughter rebels and she hates her mother, even though her mother is loving her, and all she wants to do is rebel, or her father just don't get it, all the problems of a teen. It's programming you. It's programming you. The deconstruction of the family has taken place in media and programmed people with issues and problems that did not exist at first. So now it's creating wars and battles because most of the issues that we seen them on TV before we had them. We seen them on TV before we had them. Women are supposed to go to college and have the lesbian experience. I remember that programming on TV, and it just became a thing and it was accepted. Like, you're supposed to, like, imagine if you never seen those things. These are what we call preconditions. The decisions you make are not your own. They are the pre-programs and conditions that were set in your life that programmed you. So they took all of these successful family shows that were on TV that were, I'm talking about high ratings, large audiences, and they just cut them off. Well, why would you do that? Can anybody tell me why would that make sense? That it's working. You have a successful model. Everybody wants to watch it. But we taking Family Matters off. We taking all of the shows off. Why would you do that? Unless you want a different programming. Oh, we gonna get into it, man. Self-wars. So we think about our culture, but we don't have a family culture at all currently. And where it's at today, I think it's the most dangerous thing, because I was looking at this wall and it said the future is her, or the future is female. And I was like, what does that mean for a young male that grows up in a society and he sees the future is female? Maybe he learns to empathetically respect women. He sees them as the new power figures and power mores and dynamics of the world. And I can see how that's very empowering, possibly for a little girl. Maybe it's too much responsibility. I don't know. It could cause anxiety or it could cause empowerment, right? But I was thinking, I said, damn, the young boy never even got to be programmed first, right, with his own empowerment. But he grows up in a world where when the dynamics switch, you have to understand that when it's like if you got a girl and a daughter and all of a sudden the household just start focusing on uplifting the daughter because of what previously happened in the past. Well, what happens to that son? He never actually gets an equal opportunity to ever be instilled with his own power. So it's like you have to be careful, because the upliftment of one, it could be the tear down of another. So now when that girl grows up and then the young boy is not being conditioned to be his highest self, but she's being conditioned to be her highest self. So who is she going to be with in the future? Because you don't want to uplift your daughter and forget to uplift the son, because then she has nobody to be with. But if you're not thinking about the family dynamics and how your sons have to be with your daughters, then you don't care. See, this is why it's dangerous. So it looks good. We go uplift the daughter, but you gotta uplift the son. See, that son wasn't around for what you consider patriarchy of the last 500 years. He had nothing to do with that, right? Just the same way where you uplift, right, the women's empowerment movement, and you don't connect her to none of the past behaviors of oppression that she committed and she was actively involved and have a privilege in. That's not how y'all go at white women. You feel me? So this is when we talk about family. You cannot lift one and denounce the other, because you, in that mind, you destroy that young boy of ever wanting to be a man. He wants to be a girl because that's the future is female. The future female. It's like if you tell somebody, listen, you know, we got these new, I don't know, you tell them to pick a career, and they say the future is lawyers everywhere you go, right? But they may want to be an artist, right? And they like, well, sure, if I want to be an artist, the future is lawyers. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody got to uplift the artist as well. So that this dude got the old school ringer on. I think I might have to go ahead and shut that off, brother. Yeah, don't even worry about it. You don't even know that was ringing. So no, the future has to be male and female. It has to be family, right? And this is why it's so important, because you got to understand that this is a projection of collaboration, right? This is a projection of better partnerships and relationships, right? This is better partnerships and relationships when you do this. So you have to be careful because that's a dangerous dynamic, right? And you have to understand, who does this benefit? Why would a corporation want to do this and things of that nature? So let's go past family, because I can dive deeper, but I don't have time to go into all that. Right? Let's look at all right. So when we talk about education, number one, the type of education that we get. The highest paid jobs are engineers. Now, how many black engineers do we know? How many young kids in the hood say, I want to be an engineer? How many people you run into say, yo, I'm going to school for engineering? So even when we go get education, we don't get the most valuable education. We get them lazycations, man, because we want vacation. We don't really want vocation. We don't want to put the work in. If we were going for the proper educations, number one, somebody asked me yesterday, they said, Keith, why you always talking about promoting the latest technology? Oh my God, it's a difference between promotion and education. I'm just educating you. See, we get angry even when somebody tries to educate us. I ain't promoting nothing. This ain't no damn promotion, this is education. Yeah, we got music engineers in our culture. Right? But we don't have engineers that build things in our culture. That's different. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I might teach on blockchain, AI, and all these. I'm just trying to keep us updated. Don't you want to know about what's going on in the world? But we complain about everything. No, Keys, I just want you to teach me about different dimensions and aliens. You can learn that, but that's not going to change your income. It's not going to change your ability to feed your family. I promise you it won't. But see, we don't want responsibility. And so what they have is the ability to go learn, and they can take what they take on the top sectors, health and education. So you go see them Asian doctors. You go see them engineers. So we got to always look at the top sectors of the future, and we have to be future oriented, and we have to educate ourselves on these things, so when the future does come around, then we can get the benefit of it. That makes sense? Come on, man. But thank you, Drew Kutch, because I thought I'd be dropping jewels too, but I don't see how you get mad at a person that just be dropping your jewels. I can't do what everybody do. That's why there's other people to do things. I'm just doing what Mr. Keys do best. Right? And then, of course, now the new education has to change. The new education is not just degrees, because the equivalent of a bachelor degree could be being a creator, being a creative strategist, being a consultant, right? Being a prompt engineer, right? There are now new fields to where you can make the equivalent of doctors, lawyers, and engineers. But the difference is we need skill sets to where you learn how to build. I got a lot of people on the team. I have a artificial intelligence, developer on the team. Right now I have a industrial designer that's actually from Japan. He's from South Korea on the team that's building something. I can't wait to announce. I think we're going to announce it May 4th for my birthday, right? In Harlem at the Apollo Theater. So inshallah, we got the schematics and everything ready for that. I hired some African brothers that was doing design work out in Africa. You know what I mean? Like, we get to hire globally, the international world. And of course, most people that work for me are brown Americans. You know what I'm talking about? So, I rock with my people and my family. But the people that I find have like those technical skill sets to where they can do it high level. Because I'm not talking about just anybody. Because I'm going to be honest, this is another thing, is that sometimes when we get into fields, we don't respect the field enough to learn it, to be masters in it. You got to respect the fields. You're going to be an industrial engineer and designer, you got to be top tier. Like, you want to work, you could be working at Apple. Your aesthetics, your design protocol and ethos have to be on point. You should know the history of it, the studies of it. Like, I want to be able to go to us for the highest level. But sometimes no, come to me, I'm black, but are you the best? So we gotta, yeah, that's gotta be the competition. That's why, like, on high level, like, you don't see me just going out and getting every celebrity to come talk to us. I want to talk to the smartest people in the world. And honestly, I don't care what color they are. But I definitely want to find the smartest brown people in the world. But I'm going to talk to Caucasian transparent scientists as well. Asian scientists as well. Engineers, architects, leaders of the world. Visionaries, philosophers. I want to find the intelligentsia of the world and communicate with them, because we don't have enough of that celebrated in our culture. Last but not least, I'm going to say about the Asians to wrap up the point. They store gold. So, buying gold for Asians is not something they have to be taught. It's normal. You see the Indians, they always got that pure gold too, like my ring. By the way, we do have these for sales. Just a solid 23 karat gold. You feel me? With the rubies and the emeralds. Ooh. And we about to start doing the ethical diamonds, the lab grown stuff. Because diamonds ain't really worth nothing anyway, but they look good when they shine. You feel me? So we going to start doing the lab grown ones, because ain't nobody got to die for that. So that's the future. I'm going to just let y'all know, put y'all up on some game, lab grown diamonds. If you put them on a diamond tester, you can't tell the difference, and you don't even know if you're buying one or not. You know what I'm saying? But it's the future. If you want, link to the ring, DM me. DM me the word gold. These rings, they come in silver, they come in gold, right? Silver ones, a few hundred. Golds may run you up to like 1,000 or plus. You feel me? But it's real gold. So, same thing with this. We got the gold. I make all these. I design everything. So, yeah, everything. So, the thing about it is they store gold, and you're going to see, like, a lot of them will be the sellers of it. Now, I want y'all to ask yourself a question. Like, China is one of the biggest miners of gold today on this planet and the biggest exporter of gold. Now, ask yourself this question. How is it that, because we're going to do the Jewish wealth standard one of these days too soon. How is it that Africa, right, produces all the world's minerals, golds, diamonds, but you never see African jewelers? Why is that? And by the time it gets to you, the price is hiked up. In the ground, the price is free. So you have spot price when you're talking about gold. That's the gold that is at a market price, right? So, but they going to always mark it up 10, 20, 30% above what they call spot price. And now if you get in jewelry, you can actually make the gold worth more, because then it becomes art. So even when they took gold off the reserve standard, you was able to continue to keep your gold in your household up into the 70s, because you could not have gold as a currency, right, up into the 70s, but you can have it as a jewelry. So for me, having it as jewelry is the safest way, depending on what may happen in the future. Because there could be a recall on gold. Who knows? But there ain't going to be a recall on jewelry. These are family assets and heirlooms, right? You want to talk about passing something down to your children? And how do we create trust fund babies? Get them some gold, right? Store it in a safety deposit box if that's what you need to do, right? Take 20 to 40% of your income on a monthly basis, right, and buy gold with it. You can buy gold stock. You can buy gold jewelry. There's gold stock that's correlated to the spot price of gold. So if gold as an asset goes up, so does your net worth. But having money is not a net worth, man. It's a decrease. So this is just game for you. And you can go get it appraised. So you can go buy something. We can sell you something that, like, let's say we sold you something at $10,000. You may be able to get it appraised for $15,000. Because the value of it can be more. So you got to understand that appraisal game. Then you go get it insured. And if you lose that, they go cover the appraisal price. So you got to understand the value. You got to understand the systems and where the game goes. So the Asian families ain't going to never be completely broke, because they going to have their value in gold. If Rolex today becomes worth nothing, the value of the gold, the intrinsic value of the gold is still going to be worth something. So I can still turn it in. Right? I got this in 2021, right? The price has increased significantly since then. So what is that? That's a representation of my net worth, right? So if I look at the debt that I have, which is none, right? Then I look at the assets that I own, right? So let's say you make $100,000 a year. Average person make 30, but we're going to say 100 just to give me a clear number. You make $100,000 a year. And let's say you got 20% of that in gold, right? So now you went and took 20,000 of that and you bought gold. So let's say gold goes up 10%, right? So now you got 22,000. So now you just got an increase on that, right? And then let's say you go take another one, and at the beginning of the year you bought Bitcoin. Bitcoin is up like 60 to 100% right now. So you found an increase in that, right? Then let's say you may take another, let's say another 20, 30, 40%, 20, 30%, and you put it in the stock market where you put it into indexes, bonds, and S&P 500. S&P 500 normally going to give you, I believe it's like 5% return or something like that, right? So you're going to constantly see your net worth grow. But when we have it all in cash and inflation continues to grow at a rate where, plane tickets have went up like 100%, traveling and the amount of your purchasing power decreases in value. Because now that $100,000 can't buy the same thing. It can buy half of what it could buy at first. But when you put it in things, thank you. Somebody go give me the right numbers. 8% return. Thank you. So this is what we call hedges. And these small tidbits, we need reminders even when we know, because I be needing reminders to do the things you know. So yes, you can leverage your gold as well, borrow against it, right? Especially when you have it insured and things of that nature. All of these things are important because we don't think about the way money works and wealth works. I'm just saying. So everybody needs to buy gold. Man, this has been your high-level conversation. You know what I mean? Your high-level live. So, this is better than most people podcasts. I always say that. Make sure y'all tap in. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to roll. You know what I'm saying? We're going to the highest level. Peace.